ingredients of men. What are some of the signs of women
Like
peacock?
imagine everybody just spreading when they told my real dad.
It's gonna be my ears. You know what I'm saying?
Physical
Ears,
strength.
like, man, I'm
Peace, everyone. Welcome back to Full Notice. Today's a very, very special day because our boy Yerk is back. So that's number one. So shout out to Yerk, man, in the back. And today we are having the kind of podcasts that I enjoy, the kind of conversations that really is the reason why I started the podcast. And it's pretty much, today's episode is pretty much going to be about spirituality, deep knowledge, something to think about, something to learn, an informational podcast, something that's going to add value to the archives of our minds, our souls, so I just want to introduce, our guest today. So go ahead, man, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Jake.
Yeah.
I practice Falun Dafa, Falun Gong, and that's what I was asked to come here to talk about. So I can answer any questions you have.
I have a ton of questions, man, a ton of questions. So first of all, I want to kind of get to know you a little bit more. I want to know your story and, where you come from. You look pretty strong. Like, if you worked out, you played any sports, all these questions.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, man, tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey, and end at Falun Dafa.
Yeah, sure. I'm from Connecticut originally. I live in New York, the Hudson Valley area. I started practicing Falun Dafa in like 2008. Well, I'll explain what it is.
Yeah.
So, it's a mind and body cultivation practice, and it's based on living by truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So it's taught that those three things are the characteristic of the universe.
Can you repeat that? Just
truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. So right when I found it, it resonated with me right away. I was really looking into different spirituality, different spiritual practices, and right away I just took to it. And
what was it? What was it about?
Well, you want me to go back, so I'll just
Now
I'll go back, right?
Yeah.
So that was like 2008. So when I was in college, I started to do some karate. It's called Uechi-ryu karate. So it's actually a kung fu style, and it's practiced in Japan, in Okinawa is where it's based, and it lost its roots in a way. It was practiced a lot like karate, and lost the methods, the kung fu methods. So while I was doing that, I wanted to dig deeper into its roots.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found Qigong, because I think it was in a Barnes & Noble, and I was looking at different Qigong books, and I saw one book with the horse stance. It's like a big wide stance.
Wide stance.
It's like a horse riding stance. So
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're riding a horse, big wide stance. And it was in a Qigong book, and I thought, oh, this is, we do this stance. Oh, so I didn't know what Qigong was. Falun Dafa is like, you can consider a type of Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back a little bit further. So when I was before that, like back in high school, I just got more spiritual.
That's early for somebody.
Yeah, I was like 17 or something.
Yeah.
I started to really look at myself, and started to look at more aspects of life, and gain a deeper understanding of things. It was just basic things back then, like respect, self-control.
Mm-hmm. It didn't come from like heartbreak or anything like that?
Just not kind of not happy with myself
Right.
as a teenager, you know, not
Finding yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
finding myself kind of, you know, growing up. And through that process, I found the Tao Te Ching. It's the basis of Taoism.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'd found in myself something that I would call the Tao. Like in the Tao Te Ching, it's very mysterious. Tao Te Ching. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to grasp what it really is. It's something you got to really feel it.
Yeah.
Like the word, it's really hard to put it into words. What it is. You said your
Yeah,
brother.
my brother says it all the time. It's an inner enlightenment of self and the world around you, and the way that he explains it is like it's he can't, like, sometimes it's difficult for him to. I mean, I remember specifically when he tried to introduce it to me, it was through my eating habits. Like, oh, don't eat meat because of this, and that, and then I was like, okay, well, at that time, I was like, I don't know, 14, whatever. And he's much older than I am, so he was like in his late 20s or something or whatever. And he was just like, oh, yeah, don't eat meat, and what happens, you just meditate. And he took me, he built a temple in his house.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he took me to like his temple. We had to take our shoes off and go inside, and that's not our culture. So for him to all of a sudden switch up on us like that, it was kind of like, huh? And like, he introduced my dad to it in our family, and I could go on forever, but go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, it's great to
It's
hear.
like an inner
It's
peace,
great to hear.
basically.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to. It's
describe
really to put it into words is really hard.
Yeah.
So, the same thing I mentioned: truthfulness, compassion, tolerance.
Mhm.
It's like something to experience, but it's something you can also put into action, and really, it's a real tangible thing. That's the basis of this practice. So, when I found that was actually the thing that really got me into the practice, those 3 words, because it actually encompasses what the Tao is. Because through the Tao Te Ching, I could experience, not through the Tao Te Ching. First, I kind of found it in myself, and then the Tao Te Ching kind of helped me understand what I was feeling
Mhm.
in myself. It's described as like the way of nature.
Like the path.
The way of the universe, the way. There's like a lot of Taoist sayings that explain what the Tao is.
Yeah.
I don't know them all, but there's some pretty cool ones. I wish I could remember. It's really, really good. So when I found Falun Dafa, so I'm jumping around a bit.
Yeah.
So I went through,
high school,
in
yeah.
college. In college, I started to do martial arts, and then I learned what Qigong is. I started getting more Qigong books because I was really into it. And I was
Pardon me. Qigong
is
like when you're controlling like the energy around you and like.
well, it's like Tai Chi is a form of
breathing.
Qigong.
Oh, okay, yeah. Tai Chi, that's what it.
Yeah.
was, I was thinking.
So it's like building up the Qi in your body.
Yeah.
It's like you get rid of the bad Qi
Mm-hmm.
in your body and you take in good Qi, pretty much.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about.
Dude,
so I'm trying to
yeah.
pick it through my mind. I'm thinking, do I say this? Do I say? Because it's really, there's so much.
Yo, go in, please.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. I'll try to
Yeah.
gradually, the book really, like, I'll just say it now. Because I'll probably say it. I'll say it again, but I'll just throw it out there. The book of Falun Gong is like the thing. I can say so much, but in the book, it's just it's all there. It's such a deep book. It's called Duan Falun. You can put a link or something.
Yeah. For sure.
It's the most profound book I've ever read. I read it many times. There's one main book. So there's so many things that are explained in there, and I'm gonna reference the book probably a lot. I don't know where we're gonna go.
Yeah,
how far our conversation is gonna go, but not to get off track, but so I found that book, and there's also an introductory book. So I was learning about Qigong and finding more Qigong books. Qigong has exercises. It's now these days most Qigong has just only exercises, but Qigong really also has a mind aspect. that's kind of been lost over time.
Mhm.
There's reasons for that too, but I'll stay on track here. So I was more into the mind aspect of it, like the inner part, not so much the exercises. I didn't care so much about the exercises, like the feeling that I had of the Tao. I was waiting for someone to talk about this. I had all these spiritual books, big pile of books. I had a pile of books like this high, qigong books, and no one was talking about this until I picked up this book, the introductory book actually. It's called Falun Gong, and it's more on a more fundamental level of qigong, more of an introduction to Falun Gong and qigong itself. And when I read it, it talked about this. I got that a little bit wrong. No, it was when I read Zhuan Falun first, and there's many translations because Chinese is like has very deep inner meaning in all the words, and all the language,
Mhm,
the characters. So you can translate them in many different ways.
Yeah,
These-
it's a
these
complicated
characters.
language, so I'm sure.
So like truthfulness, compassion, tolerance in Chinese is Zhen Shanren. But there's so much within those characters. Like that's only part of it.
Like there's a whole
There's just like to a Chinese person, like Zhen, it means so much more than just truthfulness.
right.
There's so much more inner meaning
It's
and like
honor, respect, like
like righteousness. There's so much.
yeah.
So in this version I read, there's like different translations, and it was true, good, endure, truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. So that's how I like got it when I started to understand what it was. So for me, it was like so amazing. Someone's actually talking about this now, because what I experienced as the Tao to me was is a feeling, but no one was talking about what it was
Mhm.
until I read this. And those three words, true, good, endure, is when I started to really understand it more. And through that, become a better person. Because that's what it's all about. This practice is about really being good. And that's how you develop spiritually.
Right.
Like, thinking of others first, telling the truth,
Mhm.
enduring hardships, tolerating, like, being mistreated, not fighting back.
So tolerate, like turn the other cheek.
Yes,
kind of.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Like Jesus said, right? If someone slaps me in this cheek, turn
Mhm.
the other cheek and let
Yeah.
them slap me in the other cheek, right?
Man.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
It's so hard.
Yeah,
But
it's
what
hard.
you get spiritually,
Is the reward of having tolerance.
yeah, there's a principle that's taught in the practice called no loss, no gain. And the way I understand it is it's a universal principle. You can apply it to literally anything.
Mm,
You're not going to gain anything in this life without losing something.
Yeah.
It,
It's
literally,
it's the law of cause and effect, and which I'm big on. I think you can't really. It's what they say. You can't. It goes with you can't add to the universe and you can't take away from the universe, right? So, it's like if the all is everything, how you gonna add from the to the all?
it's already there.
It's all exactly. Yeah. So, so yeah. All right. So here's a question.
Sure.
Throughout your journey, I mean, what kind of first got you into the culture of, like I guess the Asian culture? Was it through karate and
It wasn't about the culture for me. It was just what's inside me.
how you felt?
Well, karate, my dad, he actually learned the same martial art. I didn't know it, but he studied with someone else that was doing the same practice
Mm-hmm.
informally, and he did some martial arts with somebody, not formally though. I was really interested in like the form of it and like properly throwing a punch and being really like systematic, learning the system of it. So I always had some kind of little martial arts background because
Mhm.
my dad taught me some stuff.
Yeah.
So that was what drew me to that. But the spirituality, I just found it was within myself.
What initially drew you to because there's Taoism, and then I mean I'm sure there's many spiritual practices,
Mm.
and why specifically did you choose, Falun Da,
Dafa, Falun
Falun
Dafa,
Dafa?
Falun Gong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Well,
specifically?
I found it along my path of looking through, like looking through different spiritual practices.
And it kind of like once you found it, do they? And if you don't mind me asking, do they all have similarities, or they're like very like
Different practices.
yeah.
Um, I always have a hard time answering that because it's like each system, the way it's taught in the practice, in my words, is like, because it's all like I say in my words. I'll say this a few times
Mm-hmm.
because it's explained so well in the book, and the energy is there, like in the book, about exactly what the principle is.
Right.
So it's just, and there's like different layers of understanding.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the actual book to
Yeah. So I just say it
answer
in my
those
own
questions.
understanding,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my words. I'll say that a few times. Is that every practice has its own set of things that you obtain, that like the practice gives you.
Right.
So they may talk about similar things. So for instance, like Falun Dafa is of the Buddha school, but it's actually not related to Buddhism.
Mm.
So like the Buddha taught that there's 84,000 cultivation ways in the Buddha school.
Right.
Buddhism is one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So there's 84,000, and Buddhism is just one of
Yeah.
the 84 ways for you to reach enlightenment. For lack of better.
Yeah, because the universe is so vast. Like it's kind of a hard thing to grasp, but
It's infinite. It's an infinite
yeah.
universe. Yeah.
He also said the Buddha also said there's like as many Buddhas as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River.
So I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So is Buddha a state of mind, or is it a soul?
Well, he was a person that came, like what's taught. I'll say it again. What's
Yeah.
taught in the practice in Falun Gong is that he came, and he like attained enlightenment.
He's
It's a status.
a master
So it's
master teacher.
Well, it's a status. Like he was a person,
Mm,
but he came and he attained that status of Buddha, like through his own cultivation,
okay.
and then he taught what he obtained.
What would the path for an ordinary individual to, let's say, obtain that path? Like I know Batman went to the mountains and trained under such and such to become, he went to one temple, and then he went to the temple that teaches him how to be stealthy. Then he went to the temple that
Right.
teaches him about combat. Like, what would be the path?
Try to answer it. Try to answer that.
Yeah.
Because everyone, it's hard to say this is the way, right? But I'd say it's important to find, how do I say, like traditional practice, like a complete practice.
I understand what you mean by traditional practice, because when I did ayahuasca. I don't know if you know what that
I do.
is.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So I did ayahuasca, and I was fortunate enough to find an actual shaman whose family has done it since. I mean, when I asked him, he said, I can't even tell you, like my dad, his dad, like we, like for as long as we can remember, like he's of the shaman class in his village, and he's like a native of Colombia. And so I can't imagine getting that, something that spiritual and that deep, from anyone other than this spiritual guide, because of his wisdom and the tradition. It's like, so I can't imagine, going to like a Buddha school that someone just,
Right.
erected out of nowhere. It's like, nah, I need the official.
It's passed down.
Yeah.
These things are passed down. And it's like they've been there. They've done it themselves already. And they're imparting it. Just like, the karate or kung fu.
Yeah.
There's a lineage.
Is there a are there other Buddhas, would you say, like among us, or is it a very, very a difficult achievement.
Well, it's taught in the practice that we all come from like a higher place,
Mm.
and that and in Falun Dafa, it's about returning to your true self, like who you really are.
Yeah.
So we all have this like divine nature within us.
Yeah.
But we're all here. We're all just people.
Yeah,
You know,
we're just regular, but within our being,
we have the potential
yeah.
to become
Now,
divine.
now, do you think that our divinity is being diminished through societal, unnatural things?
Totally. Like think about the principles. Like, well, I'll elaborate a little bit on what I was saying about truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. It teaches that that's the characteristic of the universe. So everything, like it's hard to put it into words,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like everything's made of that. It's like the spirit of the universe. So in following those principles, you become closer to that and closer to your true self, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things in society that are opposite, that are just trying to like pull you away from that.
Is there a law
Yeah, well, the word fa,
yeah,
the translation is law.
yeah, I mean,
Fa lun da fa. So law, wheel, great law.
yeah, I would assume anything that has true depth
Mm.
in knowledge, in my opinion, as somebody who studies law, has to somehow like tie into law, like universal law,
Mm.
whatever, call it,
Yeah.
call it the laws, whatever. But
Karmic
yeah,
retribution.
yeah,
Like you do good, there's good rewards. You
yeah.
do bad, there's bad.
Yeah, natural
returns.
laws and those principles, in in Egyptian culture,
Mm.
or Kemetic culture, there was a deity called Thoth.
Mm.
I don't know if you've heard. Okay,
I've never heard of that one.
yeah, Thoth was the scribe of the gods, and what Thoth did was give man the ability to write, and with the ability to write, he gave us wisdom and knowledge and so forth and so on. So, there's laws behind, Thoth to the Greeks was known as Hermes. I don't know if you heard of Hermes. So
Heard
Hermes,
the name. I'm not too versed.
yeah, Hermes was the Greek, the god that had like the slippers that had wings and he could just like fly,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Hermes. So yeah, that deity was the one of in charge of giving us wisdom, or and I believe that in the universe, me personally, in the in the universe, you can take a grain of sand, and there you can find wisdom within the grain of sand if you just observe it for long enough. So I think that it would fall into the principles of that, like
There is right and wrong.
yeah,
There's such a thing.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of people that say there's no such thing. It's relative.
Yeah.
Moral relativity. You know.
yeah. That's a good. That's actually something I'd be interested in talking about. Like, so, earlier it's interesting that you say that.
Hmm.
I was talking about. I ordered a book. It's one of the Talmudic texts that was not added to the Talmud to the Bible,
Hmm.
right? And it talks about archons, and archons basically are like fallen angels and things like that, like the fallen angels and like another view of like, instead of looking at the story of God through like God's lens, it's the story of like God and whatever, all like the creation story and everything that happened through like the devil's lens, kind of, for lack of better words, it's from the archons.
Hmm.
And that book was part of the Bible. It's like it's canon, but it's like part of the story. They just don't include it in the Bible, kind of like the Book of Jubilee and the Book of Enoch, kind of one of those books. And in that, I was telling the guys, I was like, if you just change your perspective and you read a book like this, it may give you reasons as to why, like, what we would deem bad, why it would be okay, because of the nature of the way that it's, so I'd like to push back on your ideal, like, you not push back, but kind of say, you know, is good and bad, like, is a lion killing a zebra?
That's their nature.
Yeah,
That's just animals. Like, yeah, Buddhism talks about karmic retribution.
yeah,
Maybe they were reversed in a previous life.
right. So then
Yeah.
there, it's like there's the balance where
The animal has to eat. They're animals. It's their nature.
yeah, and
You
then,
know,
and
how
then
they survive, right?
and then that zebra could have been a lion in its other life.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like
Yeah,
yeah,
they could have eaten each other.
yeah, it's
Not-
like that. Cain and Abel, like maybe that's Cain coming back eating Abel, or Abel coming back eating Cain.
I'll just to touch on it, like
Yeah.
from the practice is that there's a section, like the book has sections.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sections is titled the sole criterion, or Jun Shanren, truthfulness, compassion, tolerance is the sole criterion to discern a good and bad person. That's a principle that's taught in the practice. So the practice doesn't tell you what to do. It teaches principles, how to cultivate your inner self, how to cultivate. So it's a process. It's like a very active process where throughout the day, you're faced with issues, and what are you going to do? Like, the way to improve, I can say a lot about this, and I think it ties back into it a bit. Like, the main way to improve is to through interpersonal conflicts, like how we handle those conflicts and not fighting back. When it moves me, like when my heart's so moved and I want to just fight back and yell, can I just not do it?
Like somebody cuts you off,
Yeah, right.
and instead of you honking the horn, you're just like, you know what?
So that gets into attachments.
Yeah.
So, like, Buddhism talks about this a lot. Like, it's about letting go of attachments and the bad things, like such as jealousy, show off mentality, zealotry, competitive mentality.
Oh, competition is
Yeah.
is a form of attachment because it involves the ego.
Well, it's that I'm always trying to win, not ready to lose. Not willing to lose. The only way I'm gonna, like in an interpersonal conflict, the only way it's gonna get like resolved a lot of the time, I think, is one person has to give in.
Right, because it's a battle.
The ego, like
Yeah,
you
it's
said,
the ego,
the
yeah.
ego wants to win, just wants to gain, constantly gain, always gain, never wanting to lose.
Let's say in a situation where one would need foresight, and or let's say you would want to give someone foresight and they don't accept it. How would that work? Because a lot of times when you're trying to give somebody knowledge, when you're trying to give somebody wisdom, and like the struggles that you went through to attain that knowledge, and there's meaning behind the information that you possess, that inner tranquility that you attained and you gained, and now you want to pass it on, and people may not be receptive to it or may not understand it because they may be neophytes in their spiritual journey. How do you?
Well, I've had a lot of phases through that. Like I mentioned, zealotry.
Mm-hmm.
That's taught as like an attachment. It's like trying to push. Getting so excited about what I believe, what I know, what I think is right.
Right.
And trying to make you think the same thing.
Right.
Where it's like, well, it's hard to handle that, right? But also, even if you're saying it nicely, and people have to be ready for it, and I think it has to be experienced. The only way I've gained what I have in my life is through experiencing it. I feel like I can't attain anything through somebody else. Like
Yeah.
if somebody tells me, "Oh, you need to do this, 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 this," it's like they're walking the path for me.
Right. Well, it goes to
Yeah.
kind of like the example that I was going to use,
Advice is good though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying advice isn't good, but I feel like I can't tell anyone what to do. I feel like the best thing I can do for people is to ask questions and kind of help them realize
critical think for
Yeah.
think critically
Yeah.
for themselves. Yeah, I find myself currently in a situation where a friend of mine, I'd like to call them a friend.
They're going to be watching this.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they do. I'm definitely gonna send her this clip for sure. I'm going through a situation where she's very religious, like Christian, kind of the Christians type of religious, and I present her with information, not to go against what she's saying, but to educate her on, because I really love religion. Like, I love spirituality. So I study it from a perspective where I'm like, okay, well, what does this mean? What does this word mean? And I kind of try to educate her on what certain things are. And I could literally spend hours, like, and I have spent hours kind of giving her like just general knowledge. Like, this is what this means, and this is where you find this situation in the Bible, and this, that, and the third. And they just, it's like one of those things where they refuse to accept, or maybe they just, it's like having a conversation with her is like, I could say something to rebut what she says as a rebuttal, and she doesn't even like wait to kind of think about what I'm saying. It's kind of just like a reaction. It's like immediate, just going against whatever I say, even though it makes like absolute sense. 1 + 1 is 2, but no, and it's like, then you can't really go anywhere with that, So I think everyone should probably, get involved in that spiritual practice where they just gotta dissolve their ego. I know I did. I went through a process where I could accept that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? I could 100% accept that I'm wrong.
That's a big step, I think.
Oh, I mean, one of the things that I found to be very enlightening for me was getting rid of the ego. From my I think that I have I'm not into I'm ready to transition out spiritually. I'm here for the moment, and I'm doing everything possible to live. I mean, obviously, and I love life, and but I feel within my soul that I'm like an elder soul, where what I enjoy most is educating and kind of teaching and learning and just being at peace. If I can, my perfect place would be a place, of just pure tranquility and knowledge. Probably.
I could throw something in quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
To answer your question before, I think people have to want to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it. Like
it's that simple, really. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends. It like in Falun Gong, it talks about how, in my words again, like it really matters what you want. That affects your life so much.
Yeah.
What you really want out of life.
What do people want? What do you
got to ask every
everyone. I think the majority of people, if I was to generalize, I'd say majority of people want to be
happy, comfortable.
Yeah, live comfortably, be happy,
be loved, these type of things.
Yeah.
Right?
I think love is probably one of the most powerful tools for people to to experience. Not everyone experiences love. And then hate is such an opposite of that. But once you become wise, you can see that love and hate, you can kind of switch them. Like, you can make somebody that hates you love you, and it's really the principle correspondence or polarity, like two extreme poles are both the same. You
I
ever
understand the concept.
Yeah, it's like hot and cold are two extremes of the same thing.
Mm.
It's different degrees of the same thread. Yeah, so to
Yeah.
speak. So
Yeah.
here I have I mean,
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, I
What's
have
the
some
question?
questions. Yeah. So how does practicing uh Falun Gong affect your daily life? What are some things that you notice?
So, the practice has these 5 sets of exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So, aside from like cultivating the mind, and through pretty much through interpersonal relationships, is where it comes up. There's these exercises. There's 4 standing exercises and 1 sitting meditation. And when I do the exercises, it just makes my day so much smoother.
Like actual physical exercises.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's there's, like I said, 4 standing exercises. You can go to the website and you can see all this stuff. It's all
Thought
on
you
there.
was gonna get up and start doing something.
No. I mean, I could, but
Yeah.
So I forgot to mention this too about the practice. It's totally free. So there's no rules in the practice,
Mhm.
but there is a rule that you're not allowed to make money off it.
You can't sell it.
Yeah. It was made public to benefit the world, and that's how it always was since the beginning. And that's how it has to be, or else it's not the practice anymore.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask this.
So I'll just say everything is available for free. All the books, you could download all the books. You could download all the exercises. And no one's allowed to teach the exercises for money.
Is it one of these? Is it like how people came about the knowledge of this? Was it through sages like that would travel and spread the information?
It was the teacher of the practice. You mentioned his name before we were on, Li Hongzhi.
Mm-hmm.
He spread the practice, but he had teachers to impart these things to him.
Mm-hmm.
So in 92, he made it public in China, and it grew so fast. 100 million people were doing it by 1999.
Whoa.
92 to 99, 100 million people throughout China. So he gave seminars.
Mm-hmm.
People would travel. There's stories about people like walking, like wearing out their shoes because they heard that this was being taught, like the true Fa
Mm-hmm.
was being taught. This is actually, Chinese culture is really deep, and they talk about, like, there's been legends like about like the true Fa being taught.
Mm-hmm.
People have talked about this for a long time.
Like when it comes back and makes its resurgence.
Yeah,
It's like,
so they heard about it, and some people gave up everything to just go and listen,
right,
and hear the seminars and learn the exercises. So then people would just set up their own little practice sites in parks. This park would fill up, and then, we got to move to this park, and over that park would fill up. There's pictures in China, like these huge, massive public squares full of people, like thousands of people doing the exercises. Maybe not thousands. I don't know. I'm bad with numbers, but
a full park.
It's full parks, like full squares, and you see all members of, like, people through all strata of society, people in the government, whoever. So that gets to the present day now, though. So it's persecuted. It's actually banned by the government in China.
Yeah, I remember you had mentioned
So
that.
it got so popular, like I said, 100 million people. That was more than there was members of the Chinese Communist Party.
That's a problem.
So they, if you know a little bit about communism, look into history. People have all these ideas about what communism is and think about the ideology, but you look at the history, what communism is, the results of it. Let's look at it just in China. Since 1949, they came to power. Since then, they've killed over 80 million people.
What?
You don't hear that much.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
80 million.
Over 80 million. Over 80 million
of their own.
Yeah. In times of peace, this is to gain control, have power.
Wow.
You know.
How does how does one get away with such a, is it?
How does a mob, like, how do gangsters get away with things?
Well,
They're
you're
in
right.
control
Yeah,
of everything.
the
There's no private ownership of land in China.
government does have a monopoly on violence.
There's no private ownership of land in China. That's how thoroughly they control things.
What?
Yeah.
So you can't even like how
They own everything.
Yeah, they own.
They own. So
Man,
yeah,
that's-
it's crazy. So the control they have. So they saw Falun Gong as such a huge threat. It was actually the leader at the time.
Mhm.
He decided, like, all of a sudden, Falun Gong is banned. So then everyone had to follow. But there was people all throughout government. There was actually rumors that his wife was actually practicing.
The leader's
Yeah.
wife who basically banned everybody from doing.
Yeah,
it.
his wife was
doing
actually
it.
practicing it. So there's rumors about that. So then they began this, like, massive persecution, like pulling people out of their homes, burning all the books.
And
They tried to, like, infiltrate all the communities,
Mhm.
like secret police. They set up these secret police force and infiltrate the communities of Falun Gong. And a lot of those secret agents actually just started to practice because they just learned, wow, they could find nothing wrong.
it's
There's
like
so many stories about this.
it's like I don't know if you've ever seen this. I hope you haven't, but I mean it's one of the things that I've seen. It was this monk who just like walked up to the government, or I don't know where he was, somewhere he just got in his meditation thing and put like gas on him and just burned himself. And
Yeah, Tibetan monks did that.
Yeah, he stayed like that.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like
So I'll throw out something very interesting.
Yeah.
So so they started to persecute Falun Gong, right? It wasn't working as they thought it should. Because usually the government does, people have to follow what the government says, and they're all scared of the government. Excuse me. They weren't rallying. The people weren't rallying enough
Mhm.
against Falun Gong because they try to get. This is what they've done throughout history. In China, anyways. I think other civilizations too. Communist regimes maybe. They try to put one like the main segment of society against one segment.
like
And
one
that-
class against
Yeah,
another class.
but like
or
the
something.
main, they target one small segment
Mhm.
and they put everybody against them. They did this in China many times. There's lots of examples of it. So this wasn't working like they wanted that to, like that.
Right.
So they did this thing where they staged something like you just talked about. They had people, and it was exposed. Like the footage is all broken down really well,
Mhm.
and you can see the details of it, how it was staged. They had somebody set themselves on fire in Tiananmen Square, and they interrupted the most widely watched TV show in China. It was like the holiday extravaganza or something where everyone's watching TV.
Mhm.
Like literally the whole
It's
country.
like the Super Bowl
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
Literally the whole country is tuned in. They interrupted it with breaking news that Falun Gong practitioners were burning themselves in Tiananmen Square. So they had a camera crew ready.
That goes against the practice, I'm sure.
Totally against the practice. It's, if the practice forbids killing, suicide is considered killing.
Right.
And if their hands, like there's a certain way to put your hands when you just meditate, and they had their hands like opposite.
Oh yeah. So it's like proof that even if they were, they didn't even know how to actually position.
And they also had like, you could see what they were wearing. And it was like protective
fire suits.
Yeah. So the people got burned really bad, but
They took a hit just to try to.
Then they hit. There was like part of the video where they hit somebody. They show there's like in the smoke where you're not supposed to see it happen. Somebody, like a cop, goes and hits somebody with a club, like someone that was burning themselves.
That don't make no sense. And okay, what's the initial reaction?
So this got the people really upset.
Yeah.
This got the public very upset, and it actually achieved their goal of making people like really start to
Move
hate.
away.
They wanted them to, like you said, opposite of love, opposite of compassion is hate. So they wanted people to hate, because if you really look at communism and the Chinese Communist Party and what they've done, it's opposite truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. You could say it's deceit, hatred, and struggle.
Like literally.
Yeah,
Complete
like they lie to their people.
Yeah.
Like the propaganda from China is crazy.
And
The propaganda is like,
I've never delved deep enough to really, but I hear it. I hear it a lot. I try to be open minded because I'm not from that culture and I don't know, you know.
so I'll mention one thing, like,
Yeah.
so there's like a principle in Falun Gong, like not to get involved in politics. Like the practice itself doesn't get involved in politics. And part of that too is like, it kind of interferes with one's self-cultivation.
Mm-hmm.
It just mixes everything up, and it's make things really unclear. Like I've experienced it before, but so, not to get that too much, but so I talk about like Chinese government and stuff, and try to talk about it, clarify the truth about what happened. Right. And part of that is to not just sit back and be persecuted, to something so special, something so righteous and pure. We all, like everyone who does the practice, believes like we can't just sit back and be persecuted. We got to let the people know what we're about, and then also in the process, okay, this is what this government that's persecuting us is also about.
Well, throughout your journey, right? Being that, you know, so many people are being persecuted for this spiritual system. Do you feel that it's because it can radically change the world? Maybe not like, like builders do, but spiritually.
I believe so.
Like inner change is way
like
more powerful.
The higher reason.
Yeah.
Like on the surface, right? It's because this government doesn't want to lose control, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government doesn't want to lose control. They see the spiritual practice got so popular, like they don't want it because they just want control and power. But I think yes, at like a higher level, if you look at things from a higher perspective, like, why is this really happening?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it was made public to benefit the whole world.
And then do you think that powers at for these forces that are kind of blocking it, why would they want to block something that can empower, heal, assist, people and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, it's kind of like whenever there's good, there's bad. There's like this principle in the practice called mutual generation, mutual inhibition.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever someone's trying to achieve something good, there's always going to be this resistance. And then it's like when you get it, it's that much better. It's that like but that's just part of it. That's just part of it, where I think there is, it's a good question. It's kind of hard. I have a hard time answering it a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I think that I see it clear as day. There are definitely people out there who do not have our best interest. I find that people who have power, and I don't know them, so from a wise perspective, I'd say, I haven't had the opportunity to have a conversation with the guy who can push the button. But I think to myself, like, okay, Flint, Michigan, water's really bad. Why haven't we, fixed that problem? Like, how much work is going towards resolving that issue for a population that needs, like water? How much of someone's soul has to be involved in being the one to say, you know what, we can fix this issue right now. Money's not even going to be an issue. Like, children are dying. Hold on, we're not going to put a dollar amount to saving a life. Like, we're going to get that done. I kind of think about it like, when you're in the military and you're out there, let's say in the Iraq war or whatever, and you're an asset. You're on the grounds and whatever, you get into like a gunfight, and now all of a sudden they need to send like helicopters to come rescue you. That costs a lot of money to probably put a chopper in the air and have that chopper.
And people might die.
Yeah, I mean that, so it'll cost, let's say, $100,000 for that chopper to get gassed up, whatever, and go on this trip to go save someone, pick them up and bring them back, right? Like that $100,000 could have probably saved, the people that are probably the rebel fighters. They're probably just looking for $100,000 to kind of get some clean water so that they can, like, I don't know. I think it's the powers that be, like.
Yeah, I could say that. Like in the practice, it teaches that the morality in the world has never been as bad as it is now. Like it's a time the practice was made public at a time when we need it most to like lift the world back up.
What are some of the points that of morality, for example? Like, what are some of the more moral, ethical, more ethics of it?
Well, like family values, like if you look back at like the 50s or so, just more wholesome. Like on TV, people don't talk dirty about anything.
Right. No nudity.
Yeah, they didn't even show people sleeping in the bed together.
Right.
In those TV shows.
I remember my mother would tell me that even wearing a dress that showed her shoulder made her feel uncomfortable because, and I'm like, your shoulder.
We're just so used to all these things now.
Yeah.
But the culture was so different, and all that stuff was built into it.
I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of men are starting to go to Japan. I've heard that a lot of men here in America are moving to Japan because they want traditional values that apparently the Japanese culture has inculcated and kept,
Yes. I've heard this.
So I mean, yeah, I could totally agree with
music.
Yeah, I mean, horrible. I don't personally. I can't really. I don't have. If I never heard any of these these songs anymore, like I'd be completely okay.
Totally.
Yeah, it's all lower nature, lower self.
Yeah, sure. It's all selfish.
Yeah.
It's just
vanity.
Yeah, like if you look at classical music, it's just so uplifting. Like if there's been studies about Mozart, it can actually heal you.
The vibrations could actually heal.
Yeah. Like this, there's like studies. You ever hear that book, Hidden Messages in Water?
Dude,
you have that back there?
I have it in my library in the room.
So if they play this like classical music to water,
vibration,
and the water crystals that form are really beautiful.
Yeah, they're symmetrical.
They play like heavy metal to the water, and it looks just like this ugly mess of.
And then we're water.
Yeah,
so imagine,
that's the mess. I think that was the
message.
message in the book.
Yeah, that if we're water, how can we heal ourselves? And this is one of the things that I was telling I forgot who I was speaking to, but along my spiritual journey, one of the it was 3Ds. Because I was trying to save the world. I was like, I had that Jesus complex,
I think a lot of people have had that. I had something like that when I was younger.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I wanted the world to be love and peace, and I still to a degree, I have that in my heart. Like, I want to be like the Jesus. Like, I want to save the world for real. I want everybody to know this knowledge, and I have that in me. So throughout my journey, I remember writing down like, okay, what are ways that I can kind of teach what I'm learning, and what I wrote down was 3Ds. Detach, deprogram, and I can't remember. I can't remember the last D, but it was basically the two important ones that I knew for sure was detach and deprogram, which detach was from everything. Detach from your parents, detach from what you think you know, detach from your food, detach from music, TV, everything you think you like to do, just get away from it.
I can
then
go off of that.
Go ahead.
All right. So in Buddhism, when the Buddha, Shakyamuni was his name, when he taught his practice, that's what he taught. People had to do that because it's so hard if you have all these things in front of you to let go of them.
Yeah.
So they go in the temple, they shave their heads, they change their name. Now they have temples, but back then they didn't have temples. They would go in caves and go out in the forest, and they go beg for food.
Oh,
Yeah, and you didn't have to be a vegetarian either back then.
it was just completely get away from everything
Yep.
and then just
Yeah,
create
you
a
didn't
new.
have to be a vegetarian back then because you just ate whatever was given to you.
Yeah, yeah.
You just begging in the streets. You're not going to say, "Oh, just
Oh,
you know."
thanks for this cheeseburger.
Oh no, I
Yeah,
won't. No, I don't take that.
Yeah.
No, you eat whatever you can.
Right.
So
Well, I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
oof.
this in the book too.
That's
Like,
that's
all these things are
real-
in the book. It's really the best book ever.
I mean, literally, like that's. I can't imagine the fortitude, the inner strength. You know.
And
Yeah. go ahead.
I'll just say, like the Buddha, and he did that. He didn't have to do that. He did that for other people.
Yeah.
Like he did that too. He was out begging for food, living with them. He didn't have to do that.
I
Like
mean,
he chose to do it to impart, to help the other
yeah.
people cultivate.
Now, let me ask. At that point, is that for just for the spiritual cultivation? What is
So,
there? Is there a capitalism?
This is kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking about. Well, so I was thinking about what am I going to talk about today?
Yeah.
So I think the most fascinating part to me anyway is what is cultivation?
Yeah.
Like what is it? Like how do you do it? And like so that's how they did it in Buddhism, right?
Mhm.
In Falun Dafa, it was made that was meant for those times.
Right.
It's kind of like really you can't really practice the original way anymore. So this practice was made to practice in modern society. So I do the same thing. I give up everything, but I could still have it.
Right. Right.
See, I can
right.
have like a huge house and beautiful cars, but in my heart, I'm not like it's not the thing that it
You're not
doesn't move,
attached
it doesn't
to
move my heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not attached. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's about the attachment.
Yeah. You're not weighed down by the possessiveness of.
It's
The
not.
thought.
Yeah. I'm not thinking about my money all day. I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not rich, by the way.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Well, we're all rich.
Yeah. In other ways.
Yeah.
But so just an example, like I'm not thinking about my money all day, if I'm cultivating, because the cultivation is like I can't just say, I can say, oh, I'm a Falun Gong practitioner, Falun Dafa practitioner, but it's not, there's nothing to join. There's no what's the word, conversion.
Membership. Or
Yeah. There's no
whatever.
membership, conversion. There's no formalities. There's no worship. We believe there's a creator of everything, but we don't. Worship is not part of the practice.
Would you be able to be a part of the practice and also have your beliefs of, let's say.
Well, there's a principle. I suggest to read the book if you want to get into more of those type of things,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
because it teaches all these things in a systematic way, and then it's much easier to understand. If I just say, oh, it's like this, it's like that, then it makes it harder for you.
Right.
Because it was this practice that was made public to benefit the world, like I said, and it's a very systematic practice. Like you open the book, it's meant like you read it from the beginning to the end, and you're supposed to. What's said too is like, and I've experienced this too. Like, try to read it 3 times, and you read it, try to read it all the way through. Make an effort,
Mhm.
because like it's a really good thing, and kind of what we touched on before is like there's more in Chinese culture. There's this saying like there's more in the universe, in the world, than you cannot see than you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we see like so much small amount. Like if you just think of molecules,
We see
you think of
1%
atoms. You
or
can't see
something.
all like the atoms, right? What is that?
Yeah.
But so you read the book, and it can be very difficult sometimes for some people to finish it. And then, but you just gotta, if you want to, like I said, if you really want to, that helps. You just read it all the way through, and you read it through. It's said you should read it like 3 times to really
Yeah.
understand it. But I go off.
No.
I go off a bit.
Yeah.
So-
Go there. Go in.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. So.
So
It's-
the actual cultivation, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about actual cultivation.
So
Sorry.
no, but I have a
If
question.
I go off track, sometimes I just I
You have a
forget
lot
a
of
little bit.
knowledge.
Yeah, well, I forget a little bit what I was talking about. I know just exactly what I was talking about.
Mm.
So, we're talking about how the actual cultivation part, right? So, when you cultivate, it's about letting go attachments. And why is that, right? Like, because it's the bad things in your heart that weigh you down, and it's kind of like in between you and the rest of the universe.
What
So
what yeah, why would we like what would be the benefit for people to let go of things that are weighing them down?
so I guess okay. So the experience you get, I could talk about the experience, right? So there's a goal of the practice, and the goal is to return to your true self. Like I said, we're all come from somewhere else. Like we're
Mm.
all have divine nature. So to get back to that, but in my experience, I find that it's very rewarding, and I feel much more liberated. I feel much more free and light. Like say we have an argument and I don't fight back, and it's really hard. But then it's like painful. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
just physically painful. So, but afterwards, I'll feel much lighter and more free, more energy.
Restraint
Yeah.
is a very powerful.
But then you get to another point where once you let go of that attachment, it's like it doesn't even you don't even have to restrain yourself
Mhm.
because you're there. You're at that point of not even wanting to fight back.
I've reached the point where I am not attached to monetary things. I have lost, thousands of on things, and I don't have like I don't care. It's a tool to use to get to wherever. That's how I see it.
It's a result.
Yeah.
It's a product.
Where I've seen people that have, would literally kill because of, I remember, quick story. I remember I met a guy at um at a restaurant, like a high end restaurant or whatever. You needed a membership to go in, all that. And I remember speaking to him, and seemed like a pretty legit man. And to be a member of that place, you had to be wealthy or whatever. So I'm like, oh, he's a pretty legit guy, I think, I guess, right? And one day, we exchanged numbers and talked to him a few times or whatever. And one day he calls me. He's like, "Oh man, listen, I just bought this property." He told me he bought a property and he needed like cash to do something. And I was like, "Oh yeah, all right, man." I gave him $4,000. Right? Like I was just like, "Oh yeah, sure, here." Like, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, "Yo, this is a legit guy. Like, I really don't know him." This is like the fourth time I talked to him.
Uh,
And I just gave him the 4,000, and then
never heard.
boom.
Never
No,
heard.
I heard from him again, but I heard from him like 5 months later. He was supposed to, like it's, oh yeah, in a few days, like I'll just give it back to you. I'm good. It's just for my account. And I was 5 months later, I heard from him, but it wasn't like, oh, here's your money. It's like, oh man, this is this and that, and it's just like it got to the point. Anyway, long story short, it got to the point where I reached out randomly, just like, hey man, how are you? Like, I'm not even asking. I was, how are you? And he's like, oh, I called you the other day to, to talk about the 4,000 or whatever. And he did. He did call me, and I just didn't answer. Like I was busy, and I tend sometimes I just forget, and I just don't call people back or whatever. And I sent him a message back, and like how he probably doesn't read his messages like that often. So I kind of just leave it like that, and I let the universe. I believe that the universe. I'm not. Some people are like, I gotta go chase after this, and I'm just more like, things happen. You know, what the universe has in store for me is for me, and what's not is not. And like, I'd rather just be at peace. Whereas somebody would have been really upset. Um, so let me ask this other question. Oh yeah, go ahead. You had something to say?
I forgot to mention the health benefits.
Oh yeah.
The practice is that's actually what drew a lot of people to the practice is health benefits. Like people have been cured of so many different things, like things that doctors say are incurable.
Like,
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, like I have a friend who had like some kind of like nerve disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and it just disappeared.
Do they do like acupuncture?
No, through doing the exercises
Oh,
and through cultivating yourself.
like mental,
So
mental
like, yeah,
power.
I mean, what is cultivation, right? It's like, so you have, this is explained in the book, I'll say it in my words, like you have this bottle filled with dirty things,
Mm-hmm.
and you like put a cap on it, you seal it tight and throw it into the water. It's going to sink.
Mm-hmm.
If you empty out the stuff, it's going to float higher.
So basically, we're those vessels.
Yeah,
filled with,
we've had all this like bad thoughts, about selfishness and greed, jealousy, all these things. And we let go of those things, and we can assimilate to the universe.
Are those thoughts our own thoughts, or are they engrams or demons, or what what are your thoughts on that?
It's about focusing on looking inside
Mm-hmm.
at our heart and our attachments. Like there's a lot of things at play. I think, like from my understanding, there's lots of things at play, but if we cultivate ourselves, then that can resolve everything. Like there's this saying that there's a quote in the book. When you elevate your heart nature,
Mm-hmm.
in Chinese it's called xinxing, everything else will follow up. So like once your health will follow up.
So
Everything everything just happens when you cultivate well. It talks about how like illness is not like the body shouldn't have illness.
Yeah,
I forgot how it said.
I agree with that.
So like it's not a natural is not the right word. It's it's that we shouldn't have illness. So we can become closer to how we were supposed to be.
Yeah, like our homeostasis is healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. So that's a huge thing. For some reason I didn't, like I said in the beginning, I focus more on the mind. I focus more on the mind
Mhm.
aspect and in the beginning I did. So I think maybe that kind of carries still a little bit. So but the health benefits are incredible.
Are there guidelines to certain to eat certain foods and not
Well,
others?
not really. No, just drinking and smoking.
Oh, no drinking.
No
and
drinking or smoking, yeah. Because
Okay.
it's just making your body, it's putting impurities into your body that through the practice we're trying to get rid of those things. It's just kind of like reversing the process.
So.
And also, I'll say that drinking, it talks about how it makes your, you want to have a strong mind. And you know how like if you get drunk, you kind of, it's like you're not totally in control.
Yeah.
You're not totally in control.
You may have like a demon in you.
You could say, yeah. I mean, it's
Because spirits mean.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That's
spirits.
no,
You're
like
talking
like
about
a spirit
spirits?
is like
Oh.
a spirit. Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
a demon, demonic entity that can overtake people. We had this discussion the other day.
I saw that.
Yeah, my
The
boy,
guy- I
my
saw
boy,
that
yeah,
guy.
my boy Scott, man. He's somebody that I would have loved if he was here because he's someone who I would consider myself akin to your thought form, to your way of thinking.
Cool.
He's someone who's also the same where, it's about having reason and being of sound mind and having like an inner peace, and he's cultivated himself.
It's called, in the practice, it's called a strong main consciousness.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
And it explains what that is in the book. If I try to explain all the details, it's too hard and it's so watered down.
This book,
like
you're
read
making me want to get this book right now. Like I need to get it.
You should.
Yeah, no, I am.
Everyone should. Just I say
How many copies of it do you have, man?
not with me.
No,
it's
no.
easy to get.
I'm saying like
It's easy to get.
because it seems like you studied it. Like you
I
probably
do.
write on it.
I do all the time. No, that's something you shouldn't write in it.
Oh, it's you don't highlight it or nothing like that.
No. Because it's
Dude,
like something really special.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to like dirty it.
Yeah. I got you. Like me, well, what I tend to do, I tend to like
Yeah, right, right.
So
Sorry,
I
let me
use
just-
yeah.
Sorry, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, just for you guys, what I personally do is
Sorry.
no, keep going, do your thing. I tend to just get 2 copies of books, and I'll just highlight like one clean copy, and then the other, my training copy for my knowledge bank. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Actually, I have I just for those there's a book called The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. It's like a Masonic book or whatever. And I just that's a it's a great book for people who want to know about, like, read the Jesus story. It kind of talks about like the 18 years of his life that are not really accounted, and it kind of goes into that whole thing. But
I gotta kind of wrap it up a little bit.
oh
'Cause,
yeah, you got your wife
like-
waiting, right?
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
We weren't,
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't know how long, and sorry,
man. It's all-
I could just talk about this forever, but
Yeah, no,
know.
we'd love to have you back on, man, and to continue.
yeah,
that.
maybe. Well, we could talk a little bit more.
Yeah,
Let's see if you want to ask any more questions.
dude, I had this whole thing of questions.
Ask a couple questions. I'll
All
try
right.
to rattle off something.
All right, so I mean, you answered, like, I had, like, how do you what are your views on between the relationship of, like, the practice and the traditional, like, practices in China that are happening now? You kind of answered that question. But
So I'll say one thing, like qigong. So qigong was super popular in China.
Yeah.
But it was just the exercises, and then, like, the real true spiritual culture of China got really damaged, right, when communism came.
Yeah.
They actually tried to wipe it out, because in order for communism to work, they couldn't have traditional culture, because they're like very opposite. The traditional Chinese culture is very spiritual.
They needed more, like, what, Christianity?
No,
type?
nothing.
Oh, communism.
Communism believes in nothing.
They don't.
There's no
it's like-
God. There's no
Oh.
God. There's no. It's just this, and there's no morality.
It's just
There's
government.
there's no belief in, like, anything really. In China, they have Christianity, they have Buddhism, but it's government. They're all, like, the monks are government officials.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
edited all the books.
Yeah, what's up with
In
that?
the temples, they're all government employees.
Yeah.
They're all, so they just control everything. They watered it down. I forgot the expression. It's
Man,
like,
this is such a wild time to be alive, man.
it really is.
Because I think about it, and it's like the same thing going on here.
In a way,
churches
a
used to
different way,
be,
in a different
in
way,
in a different way. But churches are now 501c3s. Government's all involved in that. It's like whoa.
So qigong was kind of preserving the culture, preserving that, but it only preserved the exercises. It didn't teach the mind. It fallen off as a mind and body cultivation way.
Mm-hmm.
It has the books and the principles, and it has exercises for the body. But the qigong only had the body, and it lost the mind aspect. Like Tai Chi used to have a mind aspect to it, but it lost that, and it only has the exercises.
Right.
So when Falun Gong came, people were just like someone in the desert, like dying of thirst. Like the Chinese people, they were like missing their culture, And Falun Gong was bringing it back, and so people just drank it up. They just loved it, and it got so popular so fast.
Did
They were already accustomed to what qigong is, so many people knew about these exercises, and Falun Gong came out as the exercise, and then it started to be taught, like more of it was taught, like the mind aspect.
over time they started incorporating more
pretty quickly, like, yeah.
So they started pretty quickly. They started incorporating the mind practices.
I think
and then the
lectures,
health practices.
Yeah, the health just comes with the exercise. It just comes with it. The health just comes. It's just like a.
Like, do you hit the gym, or
byproduct of
do you
it.
just?
I do some physical stuff.
Yeah.
Like I like to ski and mountain bike.
I just had a conversation, man, with someone saying skiing is like
No, it's where
dangerous.
it's at.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great though. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Do you snowboard or ski?
Ski.
Yeah. He
ski.
said that no, don't snowboard. He said ski.
Yeah, people preference, I guess.
Yes.
I like skiing. I wouldn't snowboard. I just like.
He
skiing
said
too much.
snowboarding is just like you're gonna break your face at some point. I'm like, nah, man. I'm not trying to do that. I'll just ski.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
What I wanted to ask you is, I have two questions. I know
Yeah.
you. I know you have to go.
No.
So
I'd like to talk a little bit more.
the
Sure.
the first question is like and if you want more water, we
I'm good.
have that.
I'm good. Thanks.
So my first question is, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into the practice? How
Go on the website www.falundafa.org. There's the introductory book is called Falun Gong. I think it's just called Falun Gong. You can go on the website. It's easy to navigate. And that's the introductory book. And then after that, there's Duan Falun. And I'd say read those two books first because there's a lot of lectures that were given over time. And it's good to know the foundations, to know the basic principles and everything before you get into those because it's kind of all builds upon itself.
Right.
And it's kind of hard. It might be confusing and you might misunderstand things if you don't know these basic principles first that are taught. Yeah.
And then, okay, my next question is, where is your place of peace?
Oh, let me say one thing too. Quick, you can go to if you want to learn the exercises first.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go to the website and you could find like a place close to you all over the world. Like every country has something except China. It's banned, right? But you can find a local practice site where people are doing the exercises. It's usually outside, sometimes inside in the winter.
Is it in the mornings that people
Different
do?
times, different places. So you can it's made available so people can find it and people could do it. So you can just go there. There's a phone number. You can call someone. Like there's a big list of practice sites everywhere with people's names and phone numbers, and you could just show up and someone will teach you. They're there to teach people who want to learn, to make it available.
Are there like master teachers and
No. Everyone's just a practitioner. Like
they could call you, for
practice it.
example, and
Yeah. Like I just practice it. Like everyone who does it is just a practitioner of it. There's no like levels or like titles.
Are there a lot more people that practice this than like I would think? Like
It's said there's like 100 million people throughout the world.
that's a lot of people, man.
But like different states, it varies. There's a lot of people in New York, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to find a practice site around here.
Okay, cool.
Relatively easy, I think. So you said something else.
Yeah. Oh, my other question was, where is your place of peace? Like, where would you describe, for you personally, where is your place of peace?
I mean, in myself, like if I'm meditating or doing the exercises or studying the books, that's it for me. Like through that, that's where I gain like my spirituality, like spiritual development. It's hard to like describe what spirituality is, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to just experience it, I think. So, and through looking inside and not trying to find answers outside, like, oh, you're like this, that's why this, no, how did I do wrong in this situation? And that's how I feel much better afterwards, like so peaceful. If I can avoid having a conflict and just stay calm, to me that's so peaceful. And I feel like I get more peaceful after that.
Right. Oh, I almost caught a cramp. When you get that.
You gotta straighten your leg.
Yeah, I had to straighten my leg out real quick, man.
Yeah.
These chairs. I try to tell you. So with that being said, like, are we good on time? Like, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another question for were you like, as someone who is now, you know the information, like you have this knowledge, when you look at other like religions, not saying this is a religion, it's a practice, but when you look at other religions and other spiritual practices, do you think that there are things that others share in common? Maybe not the exercise, because I know, like, Muslims, I don't believe that within their spiritual practices that they actually have like an exercise that they do. But would you say that maybe incorporating the practice into your daily life, and even if you have a religious doctrine or whatever, it would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
you walk around, like, you have a aura of peace
Thanks.
that definitely comes from within. You know, my brother has something similar. You could just see that there's a cultivation within him, like there's a peace within you. That, I mean, you could incorporate that, who you are, into any kind of knowledge. So, do you think you can incorporate it into many different?
Yeah, you can. Anybody can do it. Anybody can practice it.
No,
It's
doesn't
not gonna.
matter if you're
It's not going to interfere with your
religious
what
practices.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's principles about this too. But better not to. It's better to, if you want to, if you're interested in it. Like I don't try to push anybody to do it.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before, I kind of used to in the beginning. Like you have to read this book.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to, and try to like preach to people about the principles and stuff. But now I realized I can't force anyone to do anything. I can't change anybody. And so it's like, if you really want to, it's there, it's available. I try to just, if people want to know about it, like you're asking me,
Yeah.
I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And to answer your other question about like different religions and stuff, I think a lot of religions share aspects of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. If they teach those principles,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a lot. I don't know about all religions, but I know like it's taught that like in Buddhism, it emphasizes compassion, but within compassion is also truthfulness and tolerance. And then
So it's embedded into.
they're all like one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're all like they're all connected. And then like Taoism emphasizes truthfulness, but it also has compassion and tolerance.
Yeah, it's like I was saying with Batman. You go from one temple to the other temple to the other, and then this is like the secret temple that they have. That only once you achieve, they really don't want you to go to this temple because you could have avoided all the other temples, and you just go here. You
That's
got
cool.
yeah. All right, man. Well, today I think I learned I'm going to order the book so that I can, I can further have knowledge and cultivate myself. I'm gonna speak to my brother as soon as we're done with this, and I'm gonna tell him about, I'm going to say that if I had to assume, I'd assume my brother has run into like
He must have.
Yeah,
he must have.
He's gonna know something about this for sure. Like I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to further educate me on this, and I thank you for coming in, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, man, really, like truly, brother, I really appreciate it.
It's funny. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know it was a podcast. I thought we were gonna go on the radio.
Oh, really?
I didn't know what to expect because we were like my wife and I were really busy. So she's just asking me, you want to go on this? I thought she said radio. I could have sworn she said radio. So it was a good surprise, man, to know because I hadn't looked at your Instagram till today.
Yeah. You were like, oh, what's on the Instagram? I was like, oh, well, here it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was a good time.
It was a pleasure, and I would love for you to come back.
I could stay on longer.
Oh, you could?
No, I mean I could.
Oh,
I can't.
Oh yeah, no, I wish you could. I wish you could. And next time I'm gonna have my boy Scott, if you're willing to come back on. I'll have my boy Scott with me, man. He's a very insightful, smart man, and I know he would like to have these conversations because he's like cerebral with it,
Cool.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And if you want, you could just one last time for the people who are watching, like, where can they go to learn more?
Oh, okay, yeah. You can go to falundafa.org, and that's like the website for the practice. So you have all the exercises on there, all the books. You also have videos of the lectures. There's a lecture series, like a 9-day lecture series. That's the original way the practice was spread in the public. So people would go to this 9-day lecture series. And yeah.
Is it in Chinese or?
It's dubbed.
Oh,
so
okay.
You can get it in Chinese, or you can get it in most languages too. So you go to that website and you just click on whatever language you want.
Oh.
It's pretty much every language, I think.
Oh, that's bro.
Yeah. So then you can go to faluninfo.net, FALUN info.net.
Mm-hmm.
That's the information center. so you can learn more about like the persecution and like
Yeah, I want to learn about that because
there's there's so many personal accounts and there's so much knowledge on there. Because people want when I started the practice, I just loved it. Like, and then it was like I found out it's persecuted. Like, what, why?
yeah,
You know, and
that's
then
like when you said that, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, why? But it makes sense.
This doesn't make yeah. And then I learned about it. Yeah, and it made sense. But it's complicated. But that website really is good. Falleninfo.net if you want to learn about the current situation.
Yeah, and it's This
those
is
two
ongoing
websites.
persecution right now
Still
as
today,
we
yeah.
speak,
Still today, people are in jail, getting arrested in China
dude.
for doing exercises, for having a book.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so I know you got. I know.
No, it's fine. You can.
So like,
Yeah.
so like, if I were to walk the streets of China with this book, people are gonna be like, whoa, put it away. Like, don't you know?
Yeah, it's like literally the most taboo subject in China. They set up a secret police force. Like you couldn't compare it to the Holocaust.
What?
But you know, we have so much like corruption throughout the world
Mm-hmm.
that the media, like we have so much media, we have so much politicians, governments. China says, you know, we can have a relationship, but you don't talk about our human rights abuses.
Yeah.
We talk about that behind closed doors.
Because that's like their own, in-house conflict. Like, you're not.
Well, they
gonna,
don't want the world to know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they're doing.
yeah,
They don't
exactly.
They don't want the world to know about it.
Because I do know. I mean, I have heard that they are like persecuting people who are Muslim and things like
The
that.
Uyghurs,
Like they have
the
like
Uyghurs, the Christians.
like concentration camp
Jehovah's
level
Witnesses.
stuff.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
Dude, I've heard that they
Yeah.
have all this stuff going on. And I'm just like, wait, what do you mean? I never heard of this.
And we, have all these relationships with them. Yeah, it's crazy. Really.
Would you say that we? I mean, that's a political question. So
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know what we can do. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not my place.
you're at peace. That's all you know. So yeah, man, I appreciate you for being here. And
Thanks for having me, Rob.
yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. All right, guys. So basically, we're gonna put all the links in the description under this video. And do you have an Instagram? Like,
No, that's all right.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I have one for my business, but
Yeah.
that's it. It's just
all right.
not for this. This is just something I do myself.
Yeah, you're private.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't need to advertise for
Yeah.
myself right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's what it's about.
So yeah, guys. You see him when you see him, and I just hope. Oh, is it that camera? Oh, all right. So yeah, see him when you see him, and I hope you guys tune in and definitely get the book. I'm gonna order my book, and get the information. So I appreciate everyone for being in here, and peace.